Welcome to my investment series. It's called Doing Business in Africa and the Caribbean. This series comprises of African and Caribbean countries where I focus on their major and developing industries. Today, I plan to focus on business opportunities and legislation that will drive the post-COVID-19 recovery across the African continent and the United States. The African region has delivered more than $20 billion to fight the pandemic on the continent. Because of this pandemic, Africa will still be going into a recession for the first time in 25 years. However, entities like the World Bank have stepped in to implement a debt standstill. Now, what does this mean? The ECA did a report on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Africa's economy. Following the report, there was a call for a debt standstill for African countries, and the ECA's focus shifted to giving more resources to these countries. It's important to know that debt is not a bad thing. If you know anything about money, then you know everybody needs debt to grow. Debt is needed to drive infrastructural development and economic growth on the continent. As big as Africa is, Africa only has $300 to $400 billion worth of debt as a continent. You should also know that Africa has no central bank. So in a way, a debt suspension is a quick way for liquidity across the continent. So how does the United States help? In 2018, the US passed the BUILD Act. This act catalyzes market-based private sector development and economic growth in less developed countries. In more simplified terms, we can say this act creates more robust and flexible investment tools for US companies to use, while also expanding how America's development funding will promote Africa's job creation, support entrepreneurship, and help grow Africa's small and medium-sized businesses. This act grants $250,000 to $2 million for businesses to enter Africa. We need to take advantage. If you didn't know, 70% of Africa's economy is made of SMEs. These are small and medium enterprises. If banks don't have the liquidity they need, the SMEs will close down. We need to make sure that SMEs remain resilient in Africa and the United States. Countries like Rwanda have put aside $100 million for a recovery plan and plans to raise it to $200 million to support businesses in the country affected by the pandemic. Nigeria has an economic sustainability plan that involves the stimulation of the economy while also focusing on the enhancement of infrastructure in Nigeria, promoting local manufacturing, and protecting the poor. It is estimated that the economic sustainability plan will cost about 2.3 trillion naira, which is about $6 billion US. The Delta State region has also set up a $13 million investment between the US and Nigeria. Ghana has set aside a total of $42 million to provide food and water for people. There's also been $18 billion set aside for the COVID-19 alleviation fund called Ghana Cares. That's catered toward the private sector. I should also note here that the African Continental Free Trade Area is going to provide a great opportunity for American companies willing to invest on the African continent. The trade agreement wants productive investment by creating jobs in Africa and by having a coherent market from a regulatory point of view. Kenya is also keen to negotiate a free trade agreement with the United States that will lead to a foreign direct investment. Kenya is on schedule to negotiate a free trade agreement starting on July 7, 2020. Now, 6 envoys have been established to represent the continent. These envoys will move forward to interact with governments, banks, and other entities that can help Africa grow. Africa is now working together as one continent. One of their missions is the AGOA arrangement. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, which essentially is a way to export goods, is set to expire in 2025. Now, because of AGOA, 300,000 women were employed in Lesotho in the textile and clothing industry by GAP. This arrangement is vital to the sustainment of African economies. Now, where is the rest of this money moving? Number 1 is agriculture. Investors are needed to work with African farmers, and key innovation is needed in the food and nutrition industry. Number 2 is digital. we've noticed 3 trends in Africa during the COVID-19 period. A is the rise of e-commerce. B, we saw a spike in contactless transactions. And C, the uses of mobile wallets and mobile money. Major banks will be sponsoring projects in the digital markets. This is an area to get in. All right, number 3, water provision and safe water. Number 4, borehole technology. That's your drilling and construction industry. Lastly, number 5, public health. That's your diagnostic tests, innovations toward health workers and services, and security for health commodities. Now let's jump back to agriculture. Currently, there are 800 million farmers in Africa, yet less than 60 to 70,000 are actually getting major projects. More production needs to happen. Currently, processing works like this. African farmers grow the product. Then it's shipped to India for processing. Afterwards, it is exported to Europe and the US to be consumed. The opportunity is to provide more processing capability to African farmers. With the right processing facilities, they can support large-scale operations in more developed nations. So now you ask, what's the risk or the challenge? Number 1, corruption is the biggest challenge for US companies who want to get into Africa, and that's on both ends. Number 2 is the lack of financing and investment. This includes trade financing, all of which have left African companies out of the US markets and vice versa. Number 3, if you're in the business of importing products from Africa, dealing with the wrong suppliers would be your biggest risk. Unlike China, which is one big homogeneous market, Africa is composed of 54 individual markets to import from. There is no Alibaba to choose suppliers from. Instead, you have to go through other means. As I analyze more countries in this series, I will share more insights on how to enter these individual countries and their respective markets. If you found this information useful, I would like for you to subscribe and share this video with others. You never know who's looking for this type of information. Until next time, peace.